Well, hello, Convention of State supporters, and welcome back to another edition of Facebook Live. I am joined by Rita Peters, who is the Senior Vice President of Legislative Affairs. Rita, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Ready to get this thing rolling today.
I'm ready to get it rolling as well. We have a jam-packed program. One of the things we're going to be talking about in the commentary is half of the unemployment benefits this year from COVID were possibly stolen. We're going to tell you who did the stealing and what we can do to stop that. Then we're also going to be joined by two amazing interns who came up in our Emerging Leaders program. They are going to inspire you with their patriotism and how amazing they are. We'll sit down with them and talk to them about their experience at the Emerging Leaders program, our internship. And also we have our Article 5 trivia giveaway question with COS Vice President Mike Ruthenberg. Mike, take it away.
Thank you, Andrew and Rita. It's great to be here again. We are in the week preceding Father's Day, and every father should be defiant. At least that's what I think, and stand up for what they believe and what they know is right. And I'm excited to be here because I can give away one of these t-shirts to maybe you if you can answer our weekly trivia question. And there's so much that's going to be covered today by Andrew and by Rita. You're not going to want to miss it. I personally know Jacob and Amanda very well, who you're going to hear from, two top-notch, incredibly intelligent future leaders in our world that you're going to hear from today. So you're not going to want to miss it. But in the meantime, let's take a little step back into history, because our question of the day is going to be about something that happened way a long time ago, even before our Constitution was completely inked, which of course is important for us to understand so we can know why we are following our Constitution and why we're trying to get back to the original intent of our Constitution. This is a great question to get us there. And if you answer this question, you can get from the COS store a Defiant t-shirt of your size. You just let us know the size. We'll get one right out to you. And if you don't win, go to the store. Go to shopconventionofstates.com, shopconventionofstates.com, and get your own shirt. And there's tons of them. And there's hats, and there's all kinds of cool stuff out there. So don't forget to shop conventionofstates.com and rep your COS gear, especially if you're defiant, just like I am. All right, so who said? Here is our question of the day. By the 5th article of the plan, we may safely rely on the disposition of the state legislatures to erect barriers against the encroachment of the national authority. Who said that? That's an important one. And here's a hint for you. It's from Federalist 85. Hopefully your fingers are going in the comments right now. Hopefully you're going to comment throughout the show, because it helps popularize our show and gets much more engagement, which is really important for us to get the word out about Article 5. I'll be back a little bit later to give you the answer, and we'll see who won the shirt. Back to you, Andrew.
Thanks, Mike. Well, the next time someone tells you that we need to give more power to the bureaucracy, make sure to show them this news article that just came out. According to a shocking news report from Axios, as much as half of the unemployment benefits that were doled out were stolen. And of the estimated $400 billion that were stolen, 70% of that was taken from foreign crime syndicates in Russia, China, and Nigeria. And it was all money taken from the taxpayer. The federal and state governments, they knew that fraud might take place, but they decided that it was better to just push these unemployment benefits push them out as fast as possible and as quickly as possible, despite not having the capacity to check every claim to make sure that it was legitimate. And what was the result? Criminal enterprises now are just flush with cash. They leapt at this opportunity, and they're going to be they're going to have money for years to come now. Much of the money, unfortunately, was lost within state agencies, but the federal government incentivized the states to push this money out as fast as possible, even though they didn't have the ability to follow up and check on all these claims to make sure that they were legitimate. And of course, the American taxpayer, the hard-earning, hard-working American, they're the person who is left in the lurch on this. Their tax money is funding criminal organizations. Foreign criminal organizations. And so this kind of one-size-fits-all policy making, it always fails. I don't know when are we going to learn that one size fits all never works? At best, we just waste American taxpayer money, and at worst, we end up funding criminal enterprises, foreign criminal enterprises, and jeopardizing our national security. Rita, you're a constitutional attorney. Tell us, what can we do to fix this mess?
Well, here's an idea. Let's let the states keep their money within the state and fund their own programs and manage them. Instead of funneling money through Washington, which the feds then use to strong arm the states into implementing federal policies, we should limit the ability of the federal government to tax the American people and leave more of that money for the states to control and fund projects. That way, if a state does a poor job managing, say, its unemployment program, for instance, then the people in the state can hold the state officials accountable. And if they refuse to reform, ultimately Americans can vote with their feet and move to a more competent state that's better governed. The federal government is just too big and incompetent to manage most domestic issues, and they are required by the Constitution to stick to the topics expressly mentioned in the Constitution as being within their jurisdiction. All other issues are supposed to be left to the states. That's the way our country was designed to operate, and that's what we must restore with an Article 5 Convention of the States. A Convention of the States has the power to propose constitutional amendments. These amendments can limit the power, scope, and jurisdiction of the federal government, including its ability to tax and spend. Without a blank check from the American people, Congress will be forced to manage our money more wisely and to provide real oversight into how our money is being spent. Millions of Americans have already joined the Convention of States movement, and 15 states are already officially on board. So if you're watching today, sign the petition to add your name to that list.
And as a supporter of Convention of States, we know that you want to help build a large, engaged army of grassroots activists who are self-governing. But did you also know that there are thousands of patriots out there who think just like you? And those patriots are young. They're in the younger generation, and they want to be a part of that grassroots army just like you. That's why Convention of States invests in the youth through our internship program, the Emerging Leaders Program. We teach our interns skills that they're going to learn that they can take into any career. We're talking about professional development, servant leadership, statesmanship, and of course, learning the ins and outs of working in the largest Article 5 movement that this country has ever seen. We are going to bring on a couple of our alumni from the Emerging Leaders Program, but I want you to go to www.conventionofstates.org/intern if you want to get more information, because applications for the new intern cycle are open, and we are looking for young patriots to join this program that's going to help shape the next generation of leaders. So I'm going to bring on right now two of our amazing patriots, Amanda Carlson and Jake Fay, both of which graduated from the internship cycle last year. And we decided to keep them around through the summer because they are just stellar patriots. I know you're going to be inspired by these two young individuals. Amanda and Jake, thank you so much for joining us. How are you two doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us, Andrew.
Absolutely. So I want to get to my first question. I'm going to send it to you, Amanda, first, because as always, ladies should go first. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to choose the Emerging Leaders Program over other internships.
Yeah, so I'm currently the president of Berkeley College Republicans, and in my time in BCR, I met Mark Meckler. He came to speak at one of our events. He had his own little event to speak. And he was like nobody that I've ever met before in politics. You could tell that he really cared about people, and he really cared about investing in students especially. And that was something that really stuck out to me. So his extraordinary character inspired me to apply for this program.
Awesome. Jake, same question right to you.
Yeah, so I've always been interested in politics, and I knew I wanted to pursue a career in politics. And so I found out about Convention of States, the internship from Patriot Academy and Rick Green. They told us about it, and just looking into it, it seemed like the perfect opportunity for me. And I was really impressed as I looked into it, just the amount of emphasis that I could tell you guys put on character development and investing into people. And I feel like that set you guys totally apart from any other political internship that I was considering at the time. And so I was so glad that I chose to pursue this opportunity, and it's definitely been worth it.
Great. Well, I'm interested in hearing about what kinds of projects you're working on as part of the internship. You know, some places you go and the interns are used to fetch coffee and do purely menial tasks. So tell us what kinds of things you're working on, and we'll start again with Amanda.
So I had the great privilege of working under Grant Martin. He's a regional director. The kinds of tasks that he had me do was directly help him like manage grassroots affairs. So essentially, I would help organize other people within his region and do tasks that a regional director does, which was an extraordinary experience. Grant was really caring and a extremely good leader. I felt like every day that I had a conversation with him, I was learning something about what it meant to mentor and be mentored.
That's great. Of course, anytime you can learn something and, not just be doing menial tasks, but be learning. And there's no more important work than working with our grassroots teams. Jake, what about you? What kinds of things have you been doing?
Yeah, so I was primarily an IT intern, but I also was splitting my time with the grassroots departments. So I split my time between Bud Cornwell and Jason Gerard, and I love both of those individuals. They've both been mentors to me, but they really trusted me with great responsibilities and doing a lot of IT work. In the beginning, I wasn't super familiar with that, and so I had to build my skills and get more involved, but they really were trusting me with great opportunities. And like you were saying, I wasn't just doing small, unimportant tasks. I really feel like what I was doing was important, and I loved working with them because they were not just looking what I could do for them, but for what they could do for me as well, which I found amazing, and were looking for ways to help me grow and to invest into me.
Those are great. I want to go back to what Rita was saying just a moment ago. I just really want to hammer this. She said it's not just some coffee fetching, or that internships usually are coffee fetching and they're kind of pencil pushing, doing menial stuff like that. But both of you are describing things that are not menial at all and kind of separates from other internships, it sounds like. So what can you tell the audience, what was your favorite part about working for Convention of States? Amanda, to you first again.
Oh man, I don't even know where to start, to be honest. This question kind of makes me nervous because there were so many things that stuck out to like that changed different aspects of my life. Like, I guess if I had to sum it all up, my favorite part is how much it has changed my day-to-day life and my day-to-day workplace experience. So currently, I have a job with the San Bernardino County Republican Party, and I find that every single day I'm with my I'm with these staffers there. I want to employ, the skills of servant leadership that I learned in Convention of States. That I care for people much more intentionally than I did before, for my relationships and for my projects and commitments as a whole. And I think just how that has changed the interface of my day to day has been extraordinary.
Mm-hmm. And Jake, how about you?
Yeah, I think it would be the same thing for me. We went through a course on servant leadership, and obviously when I signed up for this internship program, I expected to learn a lot politically and professionally, but I never expected I would get so much personally out of it. But it really taught me how to be a leader and revealed some things about myself that I don't think I had understood before. And that's part of why I would recommend this internship for anybody, because anybody can get so much out of this, especially from that course on servant leadership. other organizations teach you about politics. Other organizations can help you develop professionally, and COS did both of those things for me. But I don't think there's any other organization that is quite as good at creating self-governing servant leaders. And that's part of COS's long-term strategy for preserving America, I think. And so that was probably what stood out to me most about this internship.
Really well said, Jake. That servant leadership philosophy is really foundational to our organization and so important to everything we do as we at the national team really try to serve the grassroots. That's really our goal. You know, I have heard people say that Generation Z is really more pro-America, pro-Constitution, pro-liberty than the millennials. Do you think that's true, Amanda?
I feel like perhaps my perspective might be skewed given that I attend UC Berkeley. That hasn't been my experience at college, but that's also a very particular sample size. I think that, members of Gen Z like Jake Fay or, my other intern class that I've had the pleasure of meeting have been some of the most principled people, patriotism and constitutionally wise that I've ever met. So that's been very lovely and inspiring. I think going to Berkeley gets very bleak, but I have a lot of hope in the generation knowing that there are patriots like that.
How about you, Jake? What do you think about which generation is more pro-Constitution, pro-America, pro-liberty? What do you see?
Oh man, it's hard to say for sure because I don't have a lot of hope in my generation, but then I participate in internships like this or even Patriot Academy, and there are a lot of young people that are principled people that are interested in character and love America and love the Constitution, and I think those are the people that are actually willing to fight and are willing to do something, which then I guess does give me hope that there are people that have their beliefs and are willing to do something about it, which I feel like definitely gives me hope for my generation, that there could be more people like me, and having relationships like this in the internship with my fellow interns really helps encourage me.
Well, both of you have certainly inspired me to see that there are plenty of young people out there who are just as patriotic and just as willing to be servant leaders as many in the older generation. So thank you so much for what you two do and for all the inspiration. Okay, I want to switch over to this question about about Convention of States. Many people consider our organization as a solution as big as the problem, as big as the problems within Washington, D.C. Is there a particular problem that you hope Convention of States can solve to safeguard liberty for future generations? Amanda, back to you as well.
So I grew up in a household that in which my grandparents were very pro CCP, and my parents were extremely huge on big government. And I think seeing, I guess, the cultural ramifications of that in China and domestically, in how we've been affected by our poor quality of foreign relations with China, has been very chilling. I hope that Convention of States continues to put the emphasis that it does on reducing the scope of the federal government, but specifically through preserving American values within the states. I think that we're an extremely unique force in the world, and that Convention of States is one of the few organizations, including amongst organizations that claim to tout the same belief, that actually fights for that entirely. So I think continuing to preserve what makes America unique culturally and in our systems of governance is extremely important to me.
All right, Jake. What do you hope Convention of States can solve to ensure liberty for the next generation?
I guess there are two things that I love about Convention of States. And one, I feel like there are a lot of conservative organizations that I respect and look up to, but they are primarily just revolved around complaining about problems in the culture, and they don't necessarily have a solution like you were saying. Convention of States is entirely a solution to the problems in our culture. But also, one thing I didn't know actually when I first joined the organization is that our mission statement is to build up a self-governing army of grassroots activists. And that's what I really hope comes out of Convention of States, out of this organization, because I think once you get the grassroots involved, and if you can teach the grassroots how to be self-governing, I think that gives me a lot of hope for the country. Obviously, calling a convention is very important to me, but I don't think I understood until I joined this organization how important building up that army of self-governing activists is to preserving the country, and even just calling a convention. I think we really need to relearn how to be self-governing people once again.
Well said. Well, before we let you go, we're going to get real personal for a minute. Tell our viewers how you feel as a young person about America. Amanda?
I feel slightly terrified, but also hopelessly optimistic. I think, I've been chased by leftist mobs at Berkeley. Like, we've suffered, my group there has suffered a lot of discrimination from the campus, and a lot of violence has been attempted upon us. That's been my experience as a young person, in a academic environment. I'm deeply concerned for the direction that our country is heading. And I see, like what Jake said earlier, a lot of conservatives who like to complain about what's happening. That I feel is not so helpful. Being able to see that there are patriots who know how to organize themselves and who know how to be effective and who are willing to get off their butts and defend their liberty within organizations such as Convention of States has definitely been a game changer for me, and it has inspired me to do the exact same in my own capacity. So yes, I think I'm a mix of both, very strong emotions.
How about you, Jake?
Yeah, I love this country so much, and that's why it concerns me that it's heading in a wrong direction. And I think it's been going in the wrong direction for about 60 years. But I think conservatives or people that love America, truly love America, are finally waking up to understand that we kind of just surrendered the culture, we surrendered the country for the past 60 years, and it's time to do something about it. And so that excites me because I love this country so much, and I think God has really blessed this country and has used it to bless the world around it. And so I want to do something to preserve it. And it really does encourage me, though, to see that I think we're finally waking up to understand that we can't just hope that our values continue to exist if we do nothing to preserve them, and that America has to be fought for. She has to be preserved. And so as I see organizations like Convention of States that have a strategy and have a plan for doing that, that excites me because, like I've said, I love this country so much, and I don't want to see anything bad happen to it. I want to bring us back to the country that the founders built and that the founders envisioned that this country would become. And so that really excites me. So I am very concerned, and I have fears for this country right now. And there are some days when I just feel like nothing but depressed for the country. But I definitely have hope that because of the patriots in our country that are willing to fight, and God's grace that has been poured on this country time and time again, I definitely have hope that we can preserve our country.
Very well said, both of you. You've definitely inspired me. I'm sure that you've inspired the audience as well. Thank you for taking some time out of your day to join us to talk about the Emerging Leaders Program. And thank you for sticking around and continuing in this fight for liberty.
Thank you for having
you
us,
so
Andrew,
much.
and God bless you guys.
Thanks,
It's
y'all.
been awesome.
Okay, we are going to transition now to the Article 5 trivia giveaway answer with Mike Ruthenberg. Mike, back to you.
All right. Well, was it as good a show as I said it was going to be? Did you like Jacob? Did you like Amanda? Probably not as much as I do because I'm quite fond of them. I think they are our future. And now it's time for the answer to our trivia question of the day. And again, if you didn't win the shirt, of course, the winner's already been determined, then you can go to shopconventionestates.com and you can get your own shirt right now. You order it and it'll come just in a couple of days. So here's the answer to our question. In Federalist 85, Alexander Hamilton, he's the man that wrote, by the 5th article of the plan, we may safely rely on the disposition of the states' legislatures to erect barriers against the encroachments of the national authority. That's super important because this is one of the many sources we have for the reasoning behind the Article 5 convention process. It's one of the reasons why Article 5 is in the Constitution at all. Our application seeks to do this by allowing proposals on 3 different topics: term limits, fiscal restraints, and limits on the federal power of the federal government. And those are things that we can do through an Article 5 convention. Chances are you already know the reason why we're putting together our proposal for an Article 5, because you're here and you're watching and you're engaged. Congratulations. Glad to see you all, and we'll see you next week. Or maybe we'll see you, actually we won't see you Sunday on the battle cry because Mark is taking Father's Day off. We all should take Father's Day off and enjoy maybe the father, maybe our father, maybe being a father, but whatever it is, we all should take that time and think about the father figures in our life. Back to you, Andrew and Rita. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Mike. Well, we're going to go ahead and sign off. I've said this every week, but the situation, as you know, is desperate. It's dire right now. It seems like every week there's something new in the news that just shows you that Convention of States is the solution as big as the problem, and that we need a convention now. Because the federal government, they waste too much of your money. They spend too much time in Washington, and they're too comfortable with abusing your rights and encroaching upon your liberties. Now, Convention of States, we see this problem, and we want to use the Constitution to save the Constitution, because the founders, they knew we'd be in this situation, and they gave us Article 5. They knew that Article 5 would be the solution if ever the federal government ran away and started spending too much or started becoming self-serving career politicians. That's why Convention of States is attempting to equip American men and women with the ability to reclaim their self-governance. The movement is well underway. We have 15 states who have passed the COS resolution to limit the size, scope, and jurisdiction of the federal government. We need to get to 34 states. Once we get 34 states who pass the COS resolution, that will trigger a convention, and we will be able to pass amendments that would send the career politicians packing, that would force Washington, D.C. to spend our money wisely. And of course, we could pass amendments that would put ironclad shackles on the federal government. And we could lock those shackles, throw away the key, and walk away smiling, knowing that we have put the federal government back into the constitutional box that the founders intended it to be in. So make sure that you go to www.conventionofstates.com, sign the petition, then share the petition, and also get involved in your local community. Go to our Take Action page. Become a district captain. This is a leadership position within your community. District captains are the backbone of this movement. We need people on the front line who are raising awareness about Article 5, about Convention of States, and about this solution that the founders entrusted with us. Rita, tell our viewers what they can do when it comes to social media.
Absolutely. Well, we really want you to stay informed and up to date because we have breaking news all over the country all the time. So don't forget to follow us on Rumble, MeWe, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Parler, and Instagram. We also have new American-made apparel in our store at conventionofstates.com/store. Go check it out. I just did some great Father's Day shopping. Check out the Battle Cry with COS President Mark Meckler Sunday nights at 8:00 p.m. Eastern Time. And we'll see you back here next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time for another edition of COS Live. But for now, it's time for you and me to get back to work because we have a country to save. And remember, if you're looking for the person who's going to restore the republic, hold up a mirror. Thanks for watching.